What's up, it's your boy Hobo Drobo, and today we're going to be talking about Diedre, as well as what my plan is for the next Summon Rift. First, let's talk about Summon Rift, and before you guys raid the cave, let me explain. I am going to be buying all of the scrolls from Summon Rift for educational purposes, surely. And I'm going to do one of three things when the next Summon Rift drops. A, most preferably, a really good card drops for Stadium, where I can dump a bunch of scrolls into it, we can see the sample size that I get from over 500 scrolls, and then we can test it in Stadium, and it'll be a nice juiced card. Option B, there isn't a really good card for Stadium that drops, and it's only good for Onslaught, so in that case, I'll just buy one copy of the card and use it for Onslaught. I won't worry about upgrading it, and we'll save the scrolls for another Summon Rift. And then option C is basically what I did for this Summon Rift. I put one scroll into it, I don't remember why, but otherwise, my plan was to put no scrolls into it, because I already have the Necromancer and I have no point in really upgrading it for Stadium, especially since I already have a level 8 through getting it through chests over the course of the launch of the game. And so I'm just really hoping that this isn't a case where I don't use any of my scrolls because I don't need the card like whatsoever, but we'll see what happens. I don't really know what to expect, although I'm thinking that we're going to see another hero card. I'd be surprised if we saw something else. I know Magnus eventually has to make his appearance, although I don't think it will be in this Summon Rift. He's the character that's on the loading screen as well as the cover of the app, so he's definitely coming in the future. Otherwise, there are some leaks, but I'm not going to get into them because we have no idea when they're coming. So A, I'm going to dump all of my scrolls into a card that's nice for Stadium. B, I'm just going to buy one copy of the card for Onslaught. And C, I'm just going to save all my scrolls for the next summon. So I'm really hoping we see a legendary hero card. Otherwise, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do for the percentages of what you can get if it's an epic or a legendary, because they changed that when it was Barisad compared to the Necromancer, and a lot of people are upset with that because you should be able to get more epics, but for some reason it's still just a 1% chance like the legendary Barisad was. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, and it's definitely something that I will mention when the Summon Rift drops. So that's my plan, and if you don't like my plan, feel free to join the link in the description with the Discord and you can raid the cave. Go for it. The question for today is, what is your plan for Summon Rift, regardless of if you're a pay-to-win player or a free-to-play player? Maybe it can help some people out. Otherwise, let's go into what I expect from the update, as well as Diedre. Something that I expect, because Ironhide has said that they're cooking, is social features. Now, I don't know what to expect, but I'm really hoping that, again, we get player profiles and custom matches. If they can get that up by Thursday, it would be huge, and if I'm Ironhide, I'm working overtime to make sure that that gets out, because it could really impact the longevity of this game, especially if, let's say, the Summon Rift card isn't good, they gotta make up for it in some other ways. Although, let's be real, it's in Ironhide's best favor to make that card pretty good. We'll definitely see balance changes, and I really just expect nerfs to the Archmage. I don't know what they're going to do with that card, it just feels really strong, but I'm afraid that if they nerf the TP ability too much, then it'll make it a completely useless card, so I'm really on the fence about that one. But my advice for cards for Stadium is save as much gold, again, like I said for the last update video. Just save your gold, you never know what balance changes are going to be made, and you want to make sure you have at least like 4,000 to 10,000 gold so that you can upgrade a card right away if you want to. Because always remember... But now let's talk about Diedre. And I got inspiration for playing Diedre from one of my previous Onslaught matches from a player named Honker, who was using Diedre and Tesla to get a lot of value. And once I figured out how to counter Honker, it was very easy to get wins on him over and over again because we did play each other like 4 times. And so he got a lot of value with Diedre and the Tesla by getting a lot of that early damage out. Although once I was able to get the Musketeers and those sniper shots up, Diedre gets completely shut down. However, I think she's very important to talk about, especially considering what balance changes we may see in this next update. Diedre is pretty good in the early arenas right now, but she definitely falls off pretty quickly in those middle arenas, and so a lot of people consider her a sleeping giant for Stadium, because once you do get her high enough level, and you can combine her something with like the Holy Sanctuary or the Arcane, you get a lot of damage output, and it's almost impossible to counter it even as an Archmage player. And as an Archmage main, the biggest counters that I've faced are the players who are using Arcane, because even if I'm able to TP everything to their side, they're able to get so much gold value usually that they can just get those Arcanes up and they're putting out so much damage that it doesn't matter how much I'm sending their way. so make sure you're being careful with your Archmage TPs when you're going up against somebody with a deck like this. This deck is a lot better in Stadium, and you really want to try prioritizing getting to that round 6 and the boss wave. It can be difficult to get there sometimes, but once you do, you have an upper hand at being able to take out that boss. This deck does struggle a lot in Onslaught because it can't keep up with the Necromancer and Ghost spam decks. You're just not able to clear everything or get enough lives saved until that boss round, and so you'll see that, and I'll show some clips at the end of this video. And so this deck is a lot better for Stadium because it gives you that extra time where you don't feel like you have to rush at the end of rounds, and it gives you time to prepare and set up those arcanes in spots that you want them to, as well as being able to easily switch things out if you need to counter boosters. This deck can also struggle because you need Diedre to be up to get that max value from her boosting the towers for extra damage. Her other abilities aren't very important right now, and I feel like I don't get any value out of them, which kind of sucks when I'm using my hero because I want to get all of their value as much as possible. But really, you just need that extra damage boost from her skills, and then if you can keep her up, she'll continue to do that. Although what's really difficult is that if, like, the tar missiles are coming down right now, or they have sniper shots and your Diedre gets taken out, then basically your entire strategy is completely gone. And so that's what I did against Honker. I just used the Musketeer sniper shots right away. I took his Diedre out, and then there was nothing he could do. That's why I prefer troops like Hacksaw, like Vesper, that have a little bit more tankiness and feel like they're not going to just go down right away all of the time. Allura also goes down a lot. However, her microing potential and her ability to get out of situations very fast definitely helps with that. I wouldn't recommend this deck for Onslaught, although I would recommend it for Stadium if you're able to get a high-level Arcane Wizard. Something that I don't like about the Arcane in Onslaught is the ability that TPs troops back down the line. I want to keep the troops in a choke point where a lot of towers are firing at them. That way I can get max damage value out when possible. And TPing troops back just doesn't really do that for me. Although in Stadium, that skill for Arcane is a lot more useful. With Diedre's damage buff combined with the Tesla, you can get so much overall value from that alone in the beginning of those waves, taking out things right away, and that definitely helps elevate the strategy to the next level, allowing you to survive those early rounds. Although, if you're on some maps where the Tesla value isn't that great, this map is okay, but like today's map, there was almost no Tesla value because I needed to get more of those arcanes in those prime spots. That made it a lot more difficult. But we've made it to the boss wave, and my opponent didn't really get up those Archmages to be able to get the value from Dissipate. I think they didn't want to send me troops so that I could get gold right away, so that was definitely smart on them, because I do have all those Arcanes. Although, now when it comes to the boss wave, since their gimmick isn't going to really work as well as they wanted it to, I'm able to take advantage of that and start getting a lot of damage on the JT boss. I'm able to clear everything right away. The Arcane Wizards do a sneaky job of actually being able to clear a lot of troops out because they have that high single target damage. But my enemy is spamming me with tar missiles, and they're doing a good job of recognizing that Diedre is really weak against them, so I'm not going to be able to get that extra damage value from Diedre. My towers are going to be stunned, and I bet something like the Battle Mecha may actually come in useful here, because it's going to be able to negate that tar missile stun on my towers, so that even if they're not getting the damage boost from Diedre, at least they're staying up. But the boss is also freezing my towers, and so this is why I like to have stun. I didn't do a great job here, but now you can see I'm hovering over my stun, and I want to stun him, although I really want to stun him when he's about to freeze my towers. And that's like a very split-second reaction. I don't do a great job of executing, but that's essentially the plan. And you can see here, the archery scouts also come in very clutch because they're able to shoot over that ledge and get to the JT boss compared to the barbarians. So that's a very important thing on maps like this, finding value where you can. That game we won by inches, and if we had lost, I'll bet you it would have been because I didn't stun the JT when he froze my towers. That little extra damage over that time would have made the difference. But let's check out the last few rounds from this match from today's Onslaught map. This is a difficult map. Tesla didn't really get a lot of value in a lot of the spaces that you can put it in, and so I opted to go with Royal Archers here as well because they can get a lot of value. You don't really need that extra range from the Musketeers here, and so that choke point in the middle there is also very important for making sure that I'm using my spell cycle to keep everything in that choke point. And you'll see that when it comes to the boss round too. The only reason I won the boss round here is because I was able to stall him in the middle, and their boss just ran right through their tracks. It's also very important that I don't buy the Arcane ability that TPs troops back, because my spell cycle already does such a good job at keeping troops clumped up, keeping them in those choke points, that if it were to send troops back, it would just disrupt that flow of being able to get all of that damage together. And I don't even have an artillery for AoE damage, which doesn't even really matter, because again, once I can make it past this round, as long as I survive and make it to the boss round, that's all I was trying to do here. So if you're playing Diedre on Onslaught, be okay with taking some lives in those earlier rounds, but make sure that you're at least surviving until the boss wave. Because now I'm prepared to deal with everything that he's going to do to try and disrupt me. He's already gotten some of those Dissipate upgrades for the Archmages, and so now I'm actually going to swap that Archer Tower to a Tesla to get some extra damage for those troops that are coming down the middle. And since I'm not buying the teleport upgrades for the Arcanes, it gives me a lot of extra gold to be able to have the flexibility to sell towers and buy new ones if needed, like I do in a lot of my other matches. Things like Ghost Boosters or Frost Giants from the Glacial Druid are really good on this map. Anything that straggles outside of those portals at the end of round can really be effective for taking lives off of your opponent early. And so that's also why I really like the Verdant Dogs, other things like the Necromancer deck that I was playing before. All of those combined can be really effective here. But if you're playing the opposite of a summon deck, like what I'm doing here with max damage, putting Arcanes and Diedre down, then as long as you can survive until the boss wave, there's very little your opponent can do to disrupt you. And again, they're sending the Archmage TPs to my side, but I'm able to keep up with it, using stun, using Icy Zone, keeping everything contained. And now while the boss is in that choke point, his boss has already walked past the line. And so I was able to get out a win there, even though it was looking very grim. But like I said, this deck isn't the best, and I want to show you that by going up against a Barasad player that's also using Arcane. And Boarhead here does a really good job of recognizing the situation that he's in, adapting over time, and I didn't get that many strong boosters or boosters that were really able to take advantage of his weaknesses, but I felt like his deck was just very balanced overall. Again, having Royal Archers, Tesla, and Arcane is a very nice synergy, and we're both using it here. I'm just using Diedre and he's using Barasad. And Barasad is able to just get so much value by being a flying dragon that Diedre can't really keep up, even when damage boosting your own towers. Keep an eye on Boarhead's side of the match here. Look at his JT boss, look at how fast it goes down, and I don't really know what I could have done differently to be able to negate as much damage as he was putting out, because I don't have anything like the Musketeers or the Tar Missiles to disrupt him, and so at this point it's really just hoping that I get more damage out compared to him. That's what Diedre is all about. You just want to be putting out max damage. I was unfortunately not stunning that JT when I should have, and that definitely was really difficult for me to be able to come back from. And so that's what you see here. They're swarming me with ghosts, a lot of different other troops coming through, and his JT is completely isolated alone, allowing the Barasad and the other towers to get maximum value. And so by the time the JT is walking near where my other choke point is, it doesn't even matter because he's already taken the JT out. So shout out to you, Boarhead. You did a great job at managing what you could. So that's been my experience with Diedre so far. What do you think of her as a hero, and what are good synergies that you can use with her? And what is your plan for Summon Rift again? I'm very curious. Otherwise, good luck in your next battles, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.